This is a tribute to my parents, wrapped up in a really weird story about love. So when I was 18, my relationship with my parents was pretty rocky for all of the expected reasons, but mostly because I was dating this lying, cheating, stealing asshole of a guy. So when I was in high school, I was an actor. I did a little community theater, and I was really excited to have my first romantic role. The only challenge was, at the beginning of rehearsals, they still had yet to cast my romantic counterpart. Until one night, this mysterious man showed up to rehearsal, and he was quite the good singer, and I thought he was very handsome, so it wasn't surprising that he landed the role. But what was surprising, to me at least, was that he wanted to date me. So this was not a very long relationship. In fact, we broke up before the show even opened, leaving me to gaze into his eyes and kiss him and tell him I loved him in a terrible Scottish accent 4 performances a week, all of which I found to be highly Shakespearean. So it wasn't really the length of the relationship, but the impact that it had on me mentally and emotionally, and the toll it took on my relationship with my parents that made it significant. See, let me explain. This gentleman was quite the catch. He was a bit older than me. He was 21, but he was already a doctor because he had graduated from high school when he was 13. And he had performed in the ensemble of Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway with Bernadette Peters. And he had hiked the Appalachian Trail. And somebody had gone into the hospital and stolen his gym bag off of the front desk with his wallet in it, leaving me to pay for all of our dates. I believed it because I was totally smitten with him, and no one had ever made me feel that way. My parents, on the other hand, were not smitten with him. In fact, they were quite skeptical. So, one night, we were on a date. We were sitting in his car in a parking lot, talking like you do, and this police officer came up and said, "You're loitering, so you've got to leave." And my very smart Doogie Howser boyfriend drove to another parking lot about 2 minutes away, and sure enough, along came the same cop car, and he said, "This time I need to scan your ID." And would you believe that a warrant came up for my boyfriend's arrest? So he left in a cop car, and I had to call my parents to help. And I'm sure that they were like, "Hallelujah, like this is the moment we've been waiting for." But they came and they got me. And later, the next day, I was looking through his car trying to find something to help him. Now, in hindsight, I did find a server's pad for Macaroni Grill, which I could have paid more attention to as to a clue to his true identity. But I totally ignored that, because what I was excited to find was a receipt for $35. See, apparently, he had made an illegal U-turn, hadn't paid his ticket, he was supposed to go to court, but he didn't show up to court. And they were saying that the warrant was for a $35 failure to appear in court fine. But I had in my hand proof that he really was in jail for a clerical error. Now, here's what's really interesting, because here's where my version of the story totally deviates from my parents' version of the story. Because I vividly remember going in with the receipt and showing it to my parents and them saying, "God, he's an asshole, but he doesn't deserve to be in jail." And I can see us going towards the car to go and bail him out when we got a call that his parents had already done so. Now, in my parents' version of the story, no way in hell would they have bailed that guy out, though they do recall him claiming that his parents had flown in on a private jet to do so. I don't know. I guess the truth is somewhere in the middle, but I'm on stage. So I'm going to tell my story and my truth, even if it makes me a little bit of a liar. So here's the tribute. I just want to thank my parents for putting up with me. I want to thank them for loving me when I was a little bit hard to love, and for fighting for me, even when that meant fighting with me. And I do want to thank them, even if they won't admit it or they don't remember it, for being willing to bail my lying, cheating, stealing asshole boyfriend out of jail. Thank you.